This is Sybert signing into Kane's Wrath on the map. Tournament LA in the north, kicking it as the green nod. This is EcLipse. And in the south as the blue GDI. This is BikeRushOwnz. EcLipse versus BikeRush, relatively recent game here, but I'm kind of excited just to see a regular old GDI versus Nod. I guess we'll see if it's a regular old GDI versus Nod or not, but we got no sub-factions, we got no craziness, just a 1.02 plus GDI versus Nod. One of the new generation of community maps, so we get to see how all of this plays out. Relatively straightforward thus far. We'll have to see what the follow-ups to the beginning for each of these players are. Rifleman squad just barely making it to the main base, and he's going to be keeping an eye on that war factory. He's maybe saw the buggy drive away, but he's seen no bikes. So that's a good tell for BikeRush. When you see no bikes and you get the confirmation on that harvester, that eliminates some of the things that EcLipse might be going for as a sneaky nod player. Second refinery from EcLipse confirms a couple more of those things. And again, with a lot of these strats, it's more about eliminating options of what your opponent might be doing. If there's no bikes right out of the gate, then they're not going for a bike rush. If there's a second refinery, they're not going for a super fast flame tank rush. The more of these things that you can check off and eliminate, the MCV pack up, the additional power plant before the pack up, all of these things informing BikeRush, and on the other side of the map, informing EcLipse once his buggy got the scout of BikeRush's base, kind of eliminating those somewhat terrified options that might be coming your way. Foxhole is going to be getting eliminated, so it could be into like a second war factory, and that's what EcLipse wants to hide. We'll see. No, it's a refinery right out of the gate, so nice normal openings. It's all counter-scouting. It's all anti-scouting to try and deny vision from your opponent. None of this has really been about hiding or actually deceiving the other player. Now on this map, we do have EMP control centers in the corners. They're a pretty far ways away, and there isn't really any natural position for them. The barracks does get deployed by BikeRush. We do also have the mutant hovel nearby. Probably won't be a factor in this game, but we can always keep hope alive, and we can always continue to dream. No second refinery. Second war factory back at the main. EcLipse gearing up perhaps for some bike aggression. At least 4 bikes out here. The Pitbull does get spotted at the natural expansion of EcLipse, and he sees no second refinery. The timing window on a normal second refinery has already closed, so BikeRush has a pretty decent idea that it was indeed double war factory, and we'll see what he's able to do with that information. Looks like maybe EcLipse tried to steal some of that blue Tiberium, but maybe it just didn't quite work out. Both players with empty harvesters kind of angled towards the middle of the map. I'm not sure if which one of them actually got that blue Tiberium. Scan just going down for BikeRush. We heard the sound effect start to play out. Not exactly sure where that was. Bikes coming in here for EcLipse. He's going to be able to jump on one harvester, trying to thread the needle there. Almost gets it away in between the buildings, but the bikes find their mark, and EcLipse manages to get the kill. He scouts the airfield. He sees the Orca strike coming in. He's going to have a good idea of what direction it's going, but also he's going to know about the hammerheads that have just spawned in, and he's going to know that AP ammo is on the way as well. No harvesters in the dock for that refinery, so it's a pretty safe move there from EcLipse. He took no additional damage from that Orca strike, and both of these guys powered up their natural base, their natural expansion economies to full power pretty much straight away. Still no EMP control centers, so the EMP options for each players are pretty limited. We'll see if they ever end up grabbing them. Decent amount of Scorpion tanks are here for EcLipse, and he is ready to put on the pressure. BikeRushOwnz sounds the full retreat, but he's going to get some juicy splash damage there. One harvester, maybe two harvesters on the safe side of this war factory, safe from the sonic emitter at least, not safe from the pit bulls as the swarm comes in here. EcLipse gonna find another harvester on the exits. Two harvesters for these low-tech Snod units, and oh, an MCV and a Reclamator hub both coming out at the same time. The Venom will see absolutely everything there. And two harvesters, but the pressure isn't over just yet. Rocket Squad's in the building, clean up both of the bikes. A third bike coming through, but it doesn't survive. Only the buggy is here, and it's going to be the Catalyst Missile, which finds its mark in the south. The Harvester gets a big chunk of the health taken out of it as well, and that's a mark for a later time. It looks like a perfect placement by BikeRush on those refineries to keep them away from a single Catalyst Missile, but still, he paid the price. That was an amazing sonic emitter shot coming in from BikeRushOwnz. BikeRush paid the price on one refinery and with one harvester, but the rest of his stuff did manage to escape that catalyst. MCV on the move to EcLipse's third base, and no MCV on the move from EcLipse. Orca Strike, it looks like, coming in on the Tib chemical plant of EcLipse. The Reclamator hub gets sold off immediately, so that's going to be the Zone Trooper inside of the Marv for BikeRush. And EcLipse has already taken the third over on the left side of the map, so he's a little bit ahead of BikeRush in that sense. And these guys just kind of pivoting into a north-south kind of a situation rather than a left versus right arrangement, which is sometimes how these three bases divide themselves. Dual MCV for BikeRush. He's a greedy, greedy boy, and it looks like he's going to be going for both fields at once. The Rage Gen is not ready just yet. There is still an opportunity for BikeRush to shut down this Reclamator, or this Redeemer, but I don't think it's going to happen. Tib Core has already been purchased by EcLipse, and EcLipse is going to have, again, a perfect scout on what BikeRush is doing. Sonic Emitter gets deployed, double Obelisk is here, and the Redeemer is just barely here in time. Those Tib Core missiles adding some nice punch to this Obelisk defense, and the Sonic Emitter does not get the shot on that Stealth Tank. The Stealth Tank, on the other hand, does help to clean up that Sonic, and this base might not be quite as easy for BikeRush to take as he thought. EcLipse immediately trying to shut down the War Factory, even kind of getting a lucky kill there on a Harvester as it transfers over. Two Harvesters going down, and this Juggernaut will be eliminated quickly by those Obelisks. And for now, the Redeemer is happy to just hold the front line until some avatars can pop on out of that engineering facility. BikeRush sells the War Factory, leaving not much left to defend his MCV. A couple of shots from the Avatar, the Obelisk, and the Redeemer to melt these Sonic Emitters. And it looks like EcLipse has broken BikeRush on the left side of the map. And now we're going to be looking to BikeRush to do the same to EcLipse on the right side of the map. But we can see BikeRushOwnz had a different plan in mind. He Marvisted pretty much his entire field on the right side of the map, so he was clearly planning to take the left field while he Marvists the right field, using the Juggernauts to snipe the engineering facility, shut down the production there, and stop EcLipse's foothold from being quite as strong. The MCV is back a bit from the front line, but it's going to be into the infantry for EcLipse to try and hold the ground. Juggernauts on both sides of this little plateau, and the Venoms coming in to try and crush those Juggernauts and deal with the GDI artillery. These Juggernauts need to be very careful about where they move until they eliminate those mines, doing some splash damage to that Conyard on which the mines landed. And a couple of Black Hand squads out onto the field, one of them jumping inside of that Redeemer. The MCV moving into a very aggressive position here, and actually EcLipse is going to be taking a bit of damage from the Juggernauts, barely gets it out in time. Couple of Black Hand squads are here to try and burn down those buildings on the front line. Juggernauts are here to continue pounding away at EcLipse, but what is EcLipse going to do to match them? It's all about the Obelisk, apparently, as he tries and fails to shut down BikeRush's production there. next to that plateau. Sonic Emitter now on the front line. This Redeemer has not nearly got enough health back into itself to be able to stand on the front line against all of this GDI firepower. EcLipse almost breaking BikeRush on the front, but he fails to knock him back. BikeRushOwnz, with no real expansion on the right side of the map, has pulled everything over onto the left side of the map, and his anti-air might be a little weak, but the Venoms are not particularly strong. The obelisk is here. The base radius, the build radius has been greatly diminished, and BikeRushOwnz loses the MCV, actually, so those rocket squads getting eliminated does mean that there is not much build radius remaining. I think maybe around the War Factory, and maybe not even around that, so no anti-air batteries to support the killing of these Venoms, and this obelisk just barely still standing, blasting away at the Pitbull, blasting away at everything produced out of that War Factory. Rocket squads are here from EcLipse, and I cannot believe that EcLipse is kind of holding on here against the superior tech of BikeRushOwnz. EcLipse has managed to find a little bit of purchase, a little bit of damage, and now BikeRushOwnz has garrisoned up that Civ structure, and the front line has collapsed for EcLipse. It's all about trying to take out this Marv, and he was not ready for that. He almost had enough time to hold that left side of the map, but it just was not enough. And BikeRushOwnz able to Marvist the right side of the map without ever really establishing a refinery for his third base, was able to outproduce EcLipse. EcLipse got to the third base first. EcLipse got the refineries down first. He had the harvesters there, but in the end, it didn't really matter. Laser Capacitor's a great upgrade, Tib Core a great upgrade, but ultimately the Juggernauts just too much, and EcLipse was never able to touch them. And now EcLipse is going to have to try and rebuild. He's going to have to try and cook up another army. He's got a lot of the tech, and fortunately for him, his tech was pretty much untouched that whole time. The production wasn't that hurt either. He did lose the Redeemer Engineering facility on the front line, but it is more just about rebuilding that army and reestablishing that economy. The stealth tank gets crushed. Are you kidding me? Unfortunately for EcLipse, his sneaky stealth tank did not manage to survive. I think that was a lucky crush by the Juggernaut. BikeRushOwnz kind of getting the luck of the draw, as it were. The MCV getting targeted down. One nice thing about the multi-MCV play is situations like this aren't quite as dire. Could sell off maybe some of these power plants and that refinery just to try and get something out. But at this stage, you almost just need... Ooh, he actually got an obelisk down and he kills off that Juggernaut. You really want some kind of EMP to be able to deal with the Marv, and then you also want something to be able to deal with these attacks that are coming through. BikeRushOwnz, on the other hand, not going foolhardy and not just striking out immediately. He's instead looking to slowly build back up. Another obelisk gets deployed, going to be able to one-shot a bunch of these units. Grenadiers do jump on out, and the Grenadiers, I think, will take the shot. No. Sell-off of the obelisk there, and going to try and replace it someplace else. Grenadiers getting targeted down. APCs will allow them to survive a little bit longer, and EcLipse desperately wants to find some kind of delay tactic. By the way, there's the EMP control center. BikeRushOwnz taking that over at some point, and unfortunately for EcLipse, that may be the nail in the coffin. What? The Marv getting eliminated there, and that entire army is now feeling kind of awkward as EcLipse finds the damage to reset BikeRush. And EcLipse now, with his own foothold established on the right side of the map, can transition a couple of harvesters back up to his natural expansion to help shut that down, and this hero stealth tank managing to clean up a chunk of BikeRush's army. Mines do get deployed. The stealth tank holding its fire absolutely as long as it can. Going to redivert to another part of the map. EcLipse Always an aggressive player is EcLipse. His MCV moving out. He deploys another Redeemer Engineering facility immediately, basically on the front door of BikeRush over on the third, over on the left side of the map. Another Harvester sniped down. The number of times that BikeRush has harassed other players with that sneaky stealth tank, he's going to be very frustrated by that. Those rocket squads get burned out of that building, and now it's all about just these paltry forces from each side, scrappy and just trying to find whatever damage they can. Hunt and kill that stealth tank. That's the name of the game. No, they're actually going all in on the tech lab. The last obelisk gets deployed, and that paper armor on those Nod buildings coming back to really hurt in that moment. The stealth tank finally goes down. The Raider buggies coming in here. The rocket squads will be getting eliminated, but the rocket squads actually have a decent amount of health even without the comp armor. They survive a good couple of shots from those Raider buggies, and just barely not able to save himself. That Redeemer Engineering facility not being as useful as it would have been. If only EcLipse had been able to get out that Redeemer, he might have been able to walk all over BikeRush's base. He might have been able to stomp all over the third of BikeRush. Black Hand unit inside of that structure, absorbing some of the damage from that watchtower. Probably wants to hop on out and start burning some stuff down if he at all can. And BikeRushOwnz has come to the point of defeat. The EMP fires off, and there goes the one source of anti-building damage. That tank taken offline, but a flame tank has emerged just as the operations center disappears, and it's going to be about the sonic emitter getting burned down, the watchtowers getting burned down, and EcLipse pulling something out of nothing here. The flame tank barely surviving. Can you believe it? But the sonic emitter, the Juggernaut, will get the shot, and the MCV takes a huge amount of damage there. And just so few units on each side. Pitbulls coming through, firing shots at a random harvester there in the main base of BikeRushOwnz, as these guys have almost nothing remaining on each side. Juggernaut getting targeted down by individual Scorpion tanks. Watchtowers being placed one by one, and the War Factory was not quick enough to save that Juggernaut. The tech center gets sold off. No more tier 3 for BikeRushOwnz. He's got the sonic emitter, and he has got just barely some riflemen, some grenadiers, and some ground forces to hold the line. One Hammerhead, 3 Pitbulls skating past the defenses of EcLipse, and EcLipse with a couple of extra harvesters just waiting around here, not actually doing anything, unfortunately, for EcLipse. And it's about finding this airfield, targeting it down in just a couple of seconds, and shutting down that Hammerhead production. Even a harvester would be a good catch here, as those laser turrets on the tanks do some pretty good damage, especially when you've got 6 or 8 of them here on the front line. One Hammerhead goes down, and EcLipse keeps the damage coming, rotating around to different points to get away from that watchtower. Another power plant goes down, and both of these guys with hardly anything left. Harvesters getting eliminated on both sides. The Hammerhead gets eliminated. The bikes are here, and has EcLipse done it with cheap, upgraded, late-game Nod units from Tier 1? Has he finally managed to pull it together? He might actually be able to do this. BikeRushOwnz has been back in his main base, rebuilding his new main base, the third base. He's got sonic emitter, he's got shatterers, he's got stuff that does splash against this low health Nod army. And EcLipse is going to need to be very careful about these engagements, otherwise he will bleed out units at the edge of range and just take a lot of losses. Oh, one tank goes down. The Tib Spike still under the control of BikeRush. Black Hand is here, gonna try and burn down as many of these units as they can inside of that building. And nope, they get burned out by the Grenadier squad, so that Tier 3 sell-off coming back to be a benefit. Shredder turret there. And the EMP control center was actually taken by EcLipse, so I guess he sold off one of his MCVs and took that back. What an insane back and forth this game has been. These two guys with barely anything left. One refinery on the side of BikeRush, I think one refinery on the side of EcLipse, but it's more spread out. The War Factory was in his main base. The refinery is at his natural expansion. Meanwhile, BikeRushOwnz has everything all grouped together. These power plants going to be extremely important. EcLipse needs to take those down, to take that sonic emitter offline, and to slow any building that BikeRush does. If he could smash both of those power plants at once, that might be enough to take BikeRush offline. The bikes come in just as I say that, and they do manage to smash the power plants, but it's not enough. BikeRushOwnz is still online. He's still got power somewhere. One upgraded power plant in the south. Are you kidding me? EcLipse thought he had it clinched. He thought he had the answer, but it was not enough. EcLipse manages to replace his refinery in the south, but he spent all of his units on the left side of the map, and now he's got nothing left to defend back at home. Oh, if only EcLipse coming so incredibly close. The EMP not ready yet, and EcLipse must be scratching his head wondering, where is that electricity coming from? The refinery goes down. He's still got a refinery in the north. The upgraded power plant's getting targeted, and EcLipse falling apart here with barely anything left, coming inches away from killing BikeRush and not able to do it. Low power mode for EcLipse. His buildings at a crawl. His production almost completely halted. The Tiberium there, but he's unable to grasp it. And oh, EcLipse. The brutality of this moment, coming so close to breaking BikeRush and not even needing to worry about this army. EcLipse would have been able to just fire upon the buildings of BikeRush and take down BikeRush's production, building by building. And now BikeRush has this one powerful force all mixed together. The splash damage is insane. The unit comp is perfect. The GG gets called, and EcLipse falls to pieces. What a match on Tournament LA between BikeRush and EcLipse. I cannot believe that one power plant in the south. If EcLipse had realized that and sniped it sooner and really cemented BikeRush in the Stone Age there, he may have been able to actually do it, and BikeRushOwnz would maybe not have been so bold to go out on the map like that. And look at that, BikeRushOwnz normally ahead in economy, but EcLipse dwarfing him in that game, but he just wasn't able to do it. That sniping of the Tier 3 by BikeRushOwnz, absolutely critical. EcLipse giving himself a second life by killing the Marv of BikeRush, absolutely critical. And then it all comes down to missing that power plant. And that cinched the defense for BikeRush and gave him the boldness to be able to step out on the map. And he's like, if it comes down to a base race, you have to kill a sonic emitter. I have to kill Shredder turrets. And that'll do it for this game. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And this is Sybert signing out.